And I had just about opened the door to the checkpoint to sign in, and I was going to leave the same exact instruction, knowing full well that Rick probably was listening to the radio as well. So we mimicked each other's moves for a whole day in the storm, and it was pretty hard, pretty challenging, and typical minor frostbite, you know, fingers and toes and face and stuff. But I learned to win in that race. I learned to trust myself, trust my dogs, gain the confidence, and then the year after that I won in '92. I won my first Iditarod in record-setting time. So the dogs that help you do that, they become pretty special. And we were very, very proud of those dogs because they were, for the vast majority, already our own dogs, dogs that I had raised out of some of our, what we call our foundation dogs, dogs that were born and raised at Happy Trails Kennel. And that might be a good segue. Do we need to lower the lights a little bit, or can you see reasonably well? Huh? Okay. So what I want to do is I want to show you, and if you need to relocate, feel free to move around so you can see the screen better, because I'll kind of do this from here. All the pictures are taken by professional photographers, most of them by Jeff Schultz, some of them by his staff. He is the professional photographer that does made his mark with the Iditarod. He's now, of course, a successful businessman in Alaska, and he does other things as well. But for, I think this was his 23rd or 24th Iditarod that he has almost as many as I have that he has followed by any means of transportation. So the pictures you see are truly professional pictures that are taken. A lot of them from the air, a lot of them from snowmobiles or on a perch where he climbed literally for hours just to set up a tripod and a camera to take special pictures. So he's pretty determined picture taker. And the photos you will see are all pretty much taken by him. And they span from the 1992, I just can't get rid of the 92 dogs. They span from 1992 until just very recently. I don't think I've incorporated any of this year's race. That was not worth incorporating anyway. But in 1992, we were still allowed to raise 20 dogs, and that was quite a thrill. And this 200-pounder, of course, prefers to run 20 dogs versus those little puny 90-pounders. You know, when Dee Dee John Road hooks up 16 dogs, they don't even know that she's there. Kind of have a pound per dog ratio, but they don't want to go for that. So that's Eleanor and D2, ultimately two dogs that became pretty famous. D2 is on our right, and Eleanor is the darker dog. Those are two of the great dogs. And Eleanor, of course, was named after Eleanor Roosevelt. And D2 is named after his father, who is actually in the third position, two behind him, a dog named Dagger. That was his father. That team was comprised of 8 litter mates, their parents, Angel and Dagger, and about 4 half-brothers. Some pretty darn good breeding, and that might lead to a good little saying that people used to say, well, my first litter was the best. And my answer to that is if you treat every litter like it's your first litter, they're all just as good. You tend to get too busy with your second or third litter that you don't invest the time that you do with your first litter. If you make a point of that, then all your litters are probably the same. Don't be too busy, don't have too many dogs to be really in your young dogs' heads. So. And if you see anything in any picture, feel free to just, you know, speak up, because I've seen them before.
Is Eleanor still alive?
No, Eleanor, no, she's long gone. Anytime you see a driver with a bib on, he's really close to the start or really close to the finish. We don't wear those darn bibs other than at the beginning, at the end. They're mandatory at the start and at the finish, but they're certain. We give them up. The ceremonial start is still a ceremonial deal on Saturday, and then on Sunday we only wear it for the first 40 miles, and then we give it up to
And this place.
Where is that?
That's right outside of Willow. Now the official store is in Willow, simply because Wasilla has gotten too busy, too many driveways, too many roads, and too many houses. We forever would cross roads and driveways. So now we start in Willow all the time. That now is the official restart, which is on Sunday, and then the race is really happening. The guy in white is one of my friends, Josh Clauder. He has one of my geriatric kennels. I have 3 or 4 geriatric teams. Selfishly, I keep some of my old timers, but they're really better off in somebody else's setting where they are treated as a whole unit. So my geriatrics go anywhere from Australia to my next door neighbor who has a few of them. Yes?
What do you consider geriatric?
Geriatric is anything over 10. You know, when you're double digits, if my breeding program is in good stead, you will probably have lost a step to where you can't keep up with those great young dogs. And then you're better off in somebody else's setting. If you run with all 10 to 14-year-olds, you feel like the king, you know. And then you come running by my house doing 5 miles an hour, tails are flying, and you know, those old timers, they of course they know exactly where they are, and they're the best. See, when I give you one of my geriatrics, they probably can teach you quite a bit about sled dogs, because for the first 10 years of their life, they had pretty reasonable education and probably run anywhere from 1 to 9 Iditarods. And those are the dogs, of course, that can teach any up-and-coming musher what a real sled dog can do. And what's really sad is when I hear, oh, he used to know the commands. If you're a dog trainer and you hear that, you know exactly what happened, you know. No, the dog still knows the command. You just don't know that the dog knows the commands, you know. So you can shell out who's good dog trainers and who's not real quick. It's not the dog forgot, it's you forgot to enforce it.
Yep.
So that's where my geriatrics go, and we have lots of old-timer stories, of course. The trail is, of course, you know, people say, what's the trail like? And I say, well, you got 2 weeks. It's about as varied as your imagination. If you can think of a trail condition, we'll probably go over it. It might not seem that way, but if you think of a steep enough hill or challenging enough of a switchback where you're going in this way, in this direction, and you're looking down to your right and you see your leaders going that way. Now if you know anything about physics, something's about to happen. And 5-minute miles, that's 12 miles an hour. At 5-minute miles, you're going to really fling around that corner, you know, and you got to find just the right amount of inertia to let the sled go far enough to make that 90-degree turn downhill. If you stop too soon, you're going to wipe out, and if you don't stop soon enough, you're going to wish you had stopped a little earlier. So you're forever challenged, and of course the first 2 days are going up in the mountain range into the Alaska range, and being a former ski bum before I became a dog bum, I feel right at home in the mountains. I grew up skiing and had to play poker to pay for the ski vacation. So professional gambling is kind of in my blood. Yes, ma'am.
What about no snow?
No
Do you
snow?
ever run into that situation where there's just no snow?
Wait a couple of slides and you'll see a little bit of bare ground. Of course, on the south side of the Alaska range, we have lots of snow. Typically the snow, as the ocean currents come from the water, it'll dump out the snow on the south side of the Alaska range where we are now, and then we crest up and over the highest point at about 4,500 feet. This is what we call Rainy Pass, and I jokingly tell people that if you don't have your male dogs on the left, you never get by that last spruce tree. Which is some people really, and I had to stop making that joke because some people think I'm that poor of a dog driver that I really actually have to stop on every tree. Believe me, they learn to go on the run. That's a command that the dogs learn, just like I seen some concerned eyes right now, just like marathon runners.